cruising around and I found this essay article published by the Baffler. I was reading it and it occurred to me that it is more or less a synthesis essay. What it does is catch the reader up to speed by surveying a particular scandal, which leads to a phenomena, and the phenomena being something along the lines of the relationship between the academy, professors, and the internet. And I happened to come across this book right here. Hopefully you can see it. White Flight, Atlanta, and the Making of Modern Conservatism. Here we have a text. White Flight, Atlanta, the Making of Modern Conservatism. So we learned that this guy, Kevin M. Kruse, an historian at Princeton, is the author of this book here. And so I was curious. What can we discover about this book and how could we write a synthesis matrix or create a synthesis matrix around this book? So first thing, please be logged into Georgia Southern. The library will work and then not work. You'll have access, but then you won't have access. It's a little funky in terms of what it'll let you do and what it'll let you actually see. If you're not logged in, you won't be able to access what you need to access. So here is the library remote access page. Here is the regular website. Same search engine, but again, it's very funky when it comes to access. It's not like you don't have any access. It comes at the last moment where you're trying to reach out and grab something, and then you have to go back through this sort of login, gain access, and by that point you've forgotten where you were, and it's a search. It's like shopping for that pair of sneakers. You got to go out to the mall and dig through the crates to find something. You know, if you want to get that extra special Superfly shirt, pants, shoes, you have to go looking for it. That's what I'm asking you to do, and this is just a high-end department store that has a lot of cool things. So anyway, I went to the search bar here and I just typed in this fellow's name, Kevin Kruse. I guess it's Kruse. Just to sort of be very generic about it. So because he's fairly well known, you get a number of results here. Kevin Kruse, Second World War. Here, what I like about this Discover, as I mentioned in class so long ago, is that it will mix your type. So it'll have periodicals, news articles, this is Chronicle, academic journals, report, journal, review, all kinds of different resources. And you can filter this resource type over here, if you can see that. So maybe you need to just zero in on something. But for our purposes, what we're looking for is this book right here. White Flight and the Making of Modern Conservatism. So this is the actual book, and here is another book. You can see book, right, by this same author. Now, the reason I searched his name initially is because you may get some information, some reviews that are going to give you the conversation, or they're going to give you the survey, this kind of circling around the book here. So you might want to peruse something like this just to get a bit of background. This is a news article that's going to talk about the author himself, but more importantly for our purposes here, this is what we're looking for. This is a essay review of the particular book. And so I'm clicking on it. Yeah, see what I'm saying here? Like, I am signed in, but nonetheless, it's rerouted me over here to some weird sign-in page. So again, make sure you are signed in, or else it will do exactly what it just did. So let's start over. Discover Kevin Kruse. See at the top here, this click in, the login. I am logged in, but as I said, it's very pushy. So make sure that you're logged in. It'll take 6 months to do this on my system. So here's a essay review of the particular book. Now you can click on this. Hopefully, there are things like this where you can just pull up PDF full text. And here it is. This particular review has a synthetic quality because it's reviewing 2 works, The Silent Majority, Suburban Politics in the Sunbelt South, and White Flight, Atlanta and the Making of Modern Conservatism. Now, obviously, these 2 books, published in the same year, different titles, different books, however, published by the same university press, which is Princeton University Press. You know, what is the relationship between the 2 works? That's what the review essay is going to articulate and review, as it would survey. Keep that in mind, because what this has the advantage of doing is maybe illustrating the larger issue. And the larger issue might in fact be your topic. What I do encourage is that in the process of this, you may find or discover the real topic, and not just one work, such as Kevin Kruse's work and the reviews of that work, but being able to discover, politics of the post-war suburban South, history of race and class, American politics, being able to kind of locate maybe the larger topic through what these things are addressing. But that's kind of the process of the research. So I'm going to go back here, and so here's the book itself. Some works do have other formats in addition, and here, certainly enough, we have online access to this work. Now, this can be a little funky as well. Clicking on that took me to GillFind, which I guess this is part of the layering of the university catalog, but here you simply click on full text. As I said, this is not always available. So you can read most of this book online. There are limitations in terms of printing things out, which I enjoy doing. So you can read it online. What I recommend in this case is for you to simply go to the introduction. If you were being thorough, you would read the introduction, skim chapter 1, maybe read the epilogue, and just kind of sample some of these other titles. Looking at the title, if something strikes your interest, follow it up, But you can see here. Now, sometimes the main interface for books, but it does sort of give you, other sort of relations, other suggestions, a la the Amazon model here. And again, we're getting to the sort of larger sort of topic or subject matter is sort of being addressed here. And so what I do recommend is starting here and reading the introduction and getting a sense of what it is that is being discussed. And, these other books are, works in the field, but they may not be addressed to the topic. And I think really for our purposes, we need to stick at least to this specific work. Once you have a pretty good grasp of the main text there, we can go back, and what we're looking for, if we're going to stick with this as our topic, then what we're looking to do is sort of like look at the conversation around this particular book. And for that way, I would search the book itself. The reason that I back up and do it again this way is that you're going to get, hopefully, the main work, but then you're going to get reviews. By putting this in, here you have Urban History Review, Journal of Southern History, American Historical Review, HNet, Journal of American History. So this is a widely discussed book. Here is our other review here. What you're going to do is just sort of sample those and find. Now, in a very generic sense, you could just choose these. Because you found them on the library website, they're in some sense vetted. They're mostly sort of academic. And as you can see, there's generally PDF, full text of these. Now, a book review is a certain thing. If you actually read 10, I would say, you need to sort of be wide-ranging, because just taking the first 5 that you see, how do you know that's going to be a good overview? So I think I would encourage you to have some discretion and just sample things so that you can put together 5 that, you know, have points of contention, have what you feel to be the best takes on the work in question. Those will all fit, and obviously in terms of making the matrix, if we have these 5 works there, obviously they're going to have main ideas, subsections that cut across all of the works, you know, the things that sort of bind them together, and that's what's going to be your main ideas. But obviously each review is going to be different, and I think it's going to take some familiarity with the topic, and that's why I encourage you to engage with the principle first, so that you understand where the source originates and how it's built, so that you can see when it comes time to these reviews, you can, you know, have a fuller background or fuller sense of context. Now, with something like this book, I think because the author became somewhat famous and it sort of entered into sort of popular intellectualism, it probably had some media coverage. So depending on what the original source is, you may find things on Google. Here's something from JSTOR, probably another review, probably one that you've already seen. But the key here is that just by Googling something, you may get search results from academic databases such as JSTOR, such as the ones that we were just perusing. But you're going to run into this problem. And yes, sure, this seems nifty, just log in through your library and such, but sometimes it can be an arcane process of tracing back and logging in and trying to log in and whatever. That's why I do recommend going through the Discover page first, because you can avoid this kind of runaround. But here are our topics list here. As I discussed with someone via email, in the past I have indeed allowed students to sort of choose their own topic, which obviously, if you're familiar with the topic, you probably know some shortcuts to researching it, as it were. You know, you kind of know where to look. In some sense, these are topics that I've generated through my reading habits. I do engage with Reddit from time to time. Others were just inspired by circumstances that we find ourselves in. All these works, they are more or less of a certain type, but they're all fairly relevant para-academic topics and texts and such, and that's kind of what game we're playing here. I'm open somewhat to you suggesting your own topic, but I'd like you to run that by me before we sort of move forward on that. But I think you just kind of choose one of these and kind of go down the rabbit hole, and do your best. And that's why we're having a rough draft, so I can, and this whole process, so that you can, I think, find your way through one of these topics, so that it opens up to you, and that you can engage with it in a way that allows you to write a pretty sharp survey of the scholarly sources and offer an overview of the particular topic, capturing the most relevant and significant publications, being able to give that comprehensive look at what has been said on the topic and by whom, and sort of getting a sense of the stakes involved. Yeah, these are not the topics that perhaps you guys would choose if you all voted democratically. Maybe they're all my pet projects, but I'd be willing to roll the dice on their relevance, as it were. Good luck.